All right, I was going to make my next video, which is technically this one on Mars, but I'm actually going to talk about something else first, and I'll make the next video on Mars. Very important topics that I have certain things to talk about that are very important. But in this video, I'm going to talk about evolution. And I'm going to start with this. You start from, a single-celled organism. You start from then a multi-celled organism to something more complex, maybe an animal. Well, you work your way up to a human, okay? And if you're here right now, in this moment, and you sit here and say, what is more evolved than a human being? Okay? I know as a human, we have limitations. We have animals out here that are physically able to do things that we cannot do, such as jump higher, run faster, better vision at night, okay? Better vision overall, better hearing, okay? Better sense of smell, different hunting abilities, okay? We have more of an intellectual capacity. We have a bigger frontal cortex. To our detriment or to our favor, that can be a benefit or of detriment to us. Okay? We have, for example, you look at a gazelle in the wild, and this is actually mentioned by Dr. Joe Dispenza. The gazelle could be chased by a lion, and if it outruns the lion, within a few minutes to a half hour later, it's already grazing again. It's already grazing. It forgot. So it's a short-term stress. Us as humans, we have to handle longer term stresses because of memory, because of more of a holding on to things. Okay? So here's the thing though. When you talk about evolution and you go through all these phases, let's say you were once a bug, you became a cat, you became a dog eventually till you became a human right now. Were you ever really born, and did you ever really die? Was it just considered one big experience, one big evolution? It's just that in between those phases, okay? Because let's say even we question if what is the level of self-awareness of an animal up until the point you got up to now. We go through different phases. We got different energy centers, okay? Let's say, for example, God needed to experience itself from its lowest point. Are we saying that we experienced ourselves from our lowest point as being human? Or is this actually our highest point because we're actually aware that we are the highest species? See, because here's the thing though, when you look at animals, okay, animals are only higher than another based on the prey-predator type of thing. Are we really in that category of the prey-predator type of category with the level of intellect and conscious and awareness that we have? Because here's the thing though, I've mentioned this before about balance, about diets, about many different things where they say you are what you eat. And when we go back into our animalistic natures, okay? See, if you're here to evolve as a species, okay, evolution can go one of two ways, okay? And it's perceived very differently depending on the individual. See, when you look at the human, okay, the human here, if you was to ask what is growing as a human, okay, it's growing in spiritual religion. It's growing as far as monetary gains go. Becoming smarter, going to school, and basically getting married, having a family, and then, living a harmonious life, and then you die. Okay? But then ask yourself this. When you came into this existence, you came naked, right? You came absolutely naked. But from the moment you were a single-celled organism up until now, you had to bring something with you to get to this point where you can say, I am having a human experience and I am realizing that I am the God of this realm because I am the highest as far as the evolutionary scale goes. What is more evolved than a human? So now when you go back and say, okay, I must have been taking something with me, because people say that when you die, you take nothing with you. But if you live your life as a human under the illusions of these systems, then yeah, you do take nothing with you. And then when you're at that point of realization and actualization, okay, and you say, well, what do I have? You die broke, okay? You die broke, but you leave a legacy behind, right? You leave a legacy as far as your children, and what legacy did you leave behind as far as what impact you made in the system? I want you to look at this. See, there's a lot of people who have made impacts here in this world, okay? There's people who have made impact in the spiritual world, as far as like the spiritual community goes. That's where you get your gurus. You've got people who have financially became very stable and they've left a legacy as far as information goes as to how to evolve in that area. You've left a lot of people here, different categories. There's people who have made their mark as far as invention goes. Like you got your Nikola Teslas, you've got your your Martin Luther Kings, Theodore Roosevelt, all these people who have made an impact. Okay. And then you'll see what level of awareness and evolution you're at as to what resonates with you. Because the reason why I'm even saying this is because the majority of humans here, you can learn things. Okay. And you have to, I've made plenty of videos where I start to talk about, when you're learning, you're consuming information. When you're looking at the world, okay, your eyes are like black holes. You got that pupil that's a black hole. You got a feminine and a masculine eye, okay? And when you're consuming these things, you're consuming them like you're sucking all this in like black holes, but at the same time, you're also projecting your reality outward, okay? So this is how it works. You basically are consuming all this. But this is basically more of an expansion. It's like black holes. The more it sucks in, the bigger the black hole gets. Okay? The bigger the black hole gets. But then, there's the moment where as a human, you are able to sit back and reflect on what you have consumed. And when you can reflect, this is your contraction part. Okay? Because you have expansion and then you have your contraction. When you're doing this contraction part, okay, this is what's going to determine what you're doing here as far as work. Only you can lie to yourself. This is why I'm even going to bring all this up as far as evolution goes. You know if you're being lazy. You know when you're being stagnant. You know when you're up to no good with certain things in your life, certain choices and decisions you're making. And you know when you feel like you're progressing, like when you're doing certain things that make you feel like, wow, I'm really doing something. I'm bettering myself in the evolution of what my idea of evolution is. You see, when you are actually leaving this realm, okay, and you're a human, and you get to the point where you're like, wow, I just realized I don't need to even have a body anymore. Everything that I have done from the moment I was a single-celled organism up until the point I am as a human, I can evolve into something else. This is the reason why I'm going to start to talk about the planet Mars and things that we look up outside of ourselves. And we start to utilize these things as tools, but some people actually start to utilize these things as their gods. You hear what I'm saying? You're here to actualize yourself, okay? And realize, because the thing is, you can hear all this knowledge, but what is the knowledge doing for you? A lot of the times you may hear shit and it's nothing but mental masturbation. What is the knowledge doing for you? You know when it's doing something for you. Because you see, if it makes you feel hungry to the point where you're listening to things, but you're listening to them as a student, and then you listen to them from the sense where you're like, this person is telling me something I already know. And you have these realizations that you already know this. Because what happens is that when you start to have these realizations, you start to ask the right questions. And when you're asking the right questions, you're going to be on a trail. Now, this is where, detectives say, I have a lead. I'm on a trail. This is where, when you go into flow, you go into the depths of where you're trying to go. Only thing is that many people actually have too much distractions. So when you have distractions and you're in a flow and they cut that flow, it prevents you from going into the depths of the topics that you're going into. Not that surface layer shit. Don't worry too much about what people would think or anything like that. Most of the time I make my videos, I'm making them as a record for myself anyway. See, I go back and I know I'm always going to be recorded on these videos. There's my legacy. Because the thing is, here's your generational wealth and here's the legacy you leave. The children that you may have had, this is what they're going into. They're going to go into a metaverse, see, there's the thing. You look at the word verse. This is a frequency. Meta means beyond, but meta in Hebrew means death. The death of the frequency. We're going to be dealing with a different type of body now. And you have the ability to realize what you are. How could you go into another body if you do not know your current body right now. You have the realization of what you are, and you have the ability to make the correct choices to actually impact humanity and change your life for the favorable outcome of evolution. But then the thing is, you can't have this conversation with everybody, because what evolution may mean to you may not mean a goddamn thing to somebody else. See, there's other people who have to have their evolution come in the form of monetary gains, family, religion, and that there's nothing wrong with that. See, this is why you have to understand that this is how this matrix can only work, is on polarities, on different points of view. That's the only way you could have a universe. How do you think you have so many stars? How do you think you have so many different planets? Different planetary alignments. People were born under different planetary alignments, different points in space, different times, different dates. That's why they say, I have my point of view, you have your point of view. I'm sorry for the blurriness, but this is just what it is, man. And there's really nothing that, it's what level of awareness are you in? Because at the end of the day, when you look at evolution, whatever information you hear, there's people even in my immediate surroundings that resonate with none of this. And they say, well, they don't really care about the government or the secrets of life or occult knowledge or spirituality. They're just not into it. They'd rather just sit down and watch TV and just be comfortable, go make money, and that's it. But think about this, man. I have kittens, right? And all they do is eat, and the majority of the time, all they do is sleep. You have dogs that just basically are on the owner's ass. And they just basically, up the owner's ass, they're dogs. And then with the opposite of dog is God. And many people here just live like dogs, under the mercy of a government, medical system, under the mercy of religion, right? And they're just healing, right? They're healing. This is the greatest mystery, is that they're healing. This is why it's important to self-actualize and self-realize and know what evolution really means. But not everybody is on that level of awareness. That's why people keep coming back to do this shit all over again. Because they go back to being animalistic. Competition, prey predator. We're here. We're supposed to be eating more intelligent food. We're supposed to be eating more intelligent, knowledgeable information. Even to the food you eat. Balanced diet is not just eating different foods, okay? That's feasting. When you eat a balanced diet, it comes down to you eating a one food with a whole complete chemistry attached to it, including the life force, because there's animals in nature that won't eat an animal unless it's dead. But then there's a category of those animals that are still on their evolutionary scale to eat just dead things. But even in dead things, there's life, because there's decomposition and there's energy happening there. The process of decomposition is microorganisms and biome eating that, breaking that down and processing that, repeating that, leaving that behind for the soil and leaving that as compost. Bioavailable nutrients for whatever plant life is growing there. Okay? And that's why when you listen to information and you know what's resonating with you, you know what level of consciousness and awareness you're on. And not everybody is on that. And when you are on a flow and you hear something and you have a realization that this person is a version of you and he's telling you something you already know, believe me, you're going to ask the right questions. And when you do research, you're not going to be researching in a point where you're saying, oh, I'm looking for something outside of myself, because you actually sit with these things sometimes. And through that, you have realizations. You ask the right questions. And then this knowledge that's out here was already designed by you already to begin with. So you have to literally shed these skins, shed the ego. You get what I'm saying? You come in here naked, right? You die naked. Know yourself. You have to know your body. Know know what you are. That's the most important piece here. I'm going to continue.